First, I want to give all thanks and honor and glory to God for choosing Elmore and me to be Nolan's parents, and everyone in the community whose lives he touched. The way he made everyone around him feel comfortable, loved, and at ease. Your absence has left an emptiness that can never truly be filled. Hold him close in your hearts. Share his stories and never stop saying his name. Nolan, we love you. We'll continue to fight for you. And until we meet again, and thank you all for coming. Thank you.
A search boat cuts through the dark, restless water of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, scanning a shoreline nobody was supposed to have to search. It is the morning of July 6, 2026. The location is Horn Island, a remote barrier strip 10 miles off the mainland. The National Park Service designates this as a wilderness area. There is no shelter here. There is no drinking water. There is no cell signal. 2 days earlier, roughly 300 people had anchored off this exact coastline. They came to celebrate the 4th of July the way they do every summer, packing the shallows with boats, music, and crowds. Almost all of them made it home. Just off the island's northwest tip, a park ranger finds a body in the water. Dental records will later confirm what a mother already fears. It is her son, 18 years old, a collegiate-bound athlete, reported missing less than 48 hours earlier by the very people who were supposed to bring him back to the dock. When an 18-year-old vanishes during a holiday boat trip, the immediate public assumption is a tragic accident. The Gulf is unpredictable. The currents are fast. Within hours of the discovery, local authorities publicly announced their initial assessment. They see no evidence of foul play. For a brief moment, the official narrative seems closed. But it isn't. The family says the story does not add up. Weeks later, an independent medical examiner will release findings that complicate the initial public understanding, declaring they simply cannot determine how this young man died. And soon after that, federal agents will begin making arrests not for homicide, but for actively threatening the people who are trying to find out what happened. This is the case of Nolan Xavier Wells, and it revolves around a single question that has paralyzed a community. What actually happened after that boat pulled away from the island? To understand the gravity of the investigation unfolding in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, you first have to understand who is at the center of it. Before he was a national headline, Nolan Wells was a wide receiver. He was 18 years old, standing on the exact threshold of his adult life. He had just graduated from Ocean Springs High School and was spending his summer preparing for his freshman season as a football player for Southwest Mississippi Community College. His parents, Christine Wansley and Elmore Wells, raised a young man who was fundamentally focused on his future. Those who played alongside him describe an athlete with absolute discipline. He understood teamwork. He understood loyalty. He was deeply embedded in his family's daily life. Nolan had the physical conditioning of a collegiate athlete. He was not drifting. He was training. He was not someone looking to disappear. He was someone actively preparing to arrive. On the morning of July 4th, 2026, Nolan did what teenagers on the Gulf Coast have done for generations. He stepped onto a boat with friends to celebrate the holiday. They left the mainland, and that is where the absolute certainty of his life abruptly ends. The geography of this investigation is not just a backdrop. It is the core of the mystery. Horn Island is accessible only by water. There are no bridges connecting it to the mainland. During summer holidays, the waters surrounding it transform. Hundreds of vessels drop anchor. People swim, wade in the shallows, and move freely between boats. It is a chaotic, densely packed environment during the daylight hours. But when the sun sets, the boats pull their anchors. The crowds leave. The island returns to total, desolate isolation. According to verified timelines, Nolan arrived at Horn Island with his group. The celebration took place, but at some point before the vessel returned to the Ocean Springs dock, the timeline begins to fracture. When the boat arrived back on the mainland, Nolan was not on board. His friends had returned. He had not. In any active maritime investigation, the initial hours are critical. Based on publicly available accounts, Nolan was not reported missing until after the boat returned to the mainland, a delay that has since become one of the central points of scrutiny in the investigation. The most heavily scrutinized window in this entire case is the silent gap between the time the boat left Horn Island and the moment Nolan was officially reported missing. What happened during those missing hours would become one of the central questions investigators and Nolan's family would continue to examine. For 2 days, search and rescue teams scoured the Mississippi Sound.
Right.
Please report your 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing passing at 3 onwards.
For 2 days, his family waited in agony. Then came July 6th. Following the recovery of Nolan's body, local law enforcement released their preliminary assessment. They stated publicly that they found no evidence of foul play. Furthermore, no one in the group was charged with any crime related to his death. To the public, the implication was clear. It was a tragic drowning. But for Christine, Elmore, and the rest of Nolan's family, that conclusion fundamentally contradicted the reality of the timeline. It did not explain the delay in reporting him missing. It did not explain how a collegiate-level athlete simply slipped beneath the water unnoticed by a boat full of people. Refusing to accept a hasty conclusion, the family retained prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Through their legal counsel, the family commissioned an independent autopsy. They needed to know what the physical evidence actually dictated, entirely separate from the initial statements of local police. When an independent autopsy is conducted in a suspected drowning, forensic pathologists look for definitive markers. They look for water in the lungs. They look for signs of blunt force trauma. They look for defensive wounds. But when the independent examination of Nolan Wells was completed, the conclusion was not a definitive answer. It was a medical roadblock. The independent medical examiner concluded that both the cause and manner of Nolan's death were undetermined. The report explicitly noted that due to the state of decomposition after 2 days in the July Gulf waters and the absence of certain anatomical structures, they simply could not reach a scientific conclusion. This forensic finding is critical. It does not explicitly prove murder, but it does not establish a simple accidental drowning. The physical evidence had been severely compromised by the elements. Meanwhile, the official state autopsy findings, the government's own medical conclusions, remained unreleased to the public. The community was left with a grieving family, an undetermined cause of death, and a local police force maintaining that no foul play had occurred. The case appeared to be stalled in a space of permanent uncertainty. And then, the federal government stepped in, while local authorities maintained their stance. Separate federal investigations were quietly taking place behind the scenes. Weeks after Nolan's death, federal agents executed arrests directly connected to the case. it is vital to be precise about the nature of these charges. These are not homicide arrests. No one has been charged with killing Nolan Wells. The federal charges are for alleged witness intimidation. The federal charges allege witness intimidation connected to the investigation. While the public record has not disclosed the full scope of the testimony involved, investigators considered the alleged conduct serious enough to pursue federal charges. This development forces the public to completely re-evaluate the official narrative. The witness intimidation investigation added an unexpected layer to a case many had assumed was already understood. Federal authorities have not publicly disclosed the full nature of the information at the center of those allegations. Exactly who was allegedly targeted and what information investigators were seeking has not been publicly detailed. The presence of federal charges regarding the suppression of evidence shatters the idea that there is nothing more to this story. The federal investigation added another layer of uncertainty, suggesting investigators believe relevant information connected to the case may not have been fully forthcoming. As of late 2026, the death of Nolan Xavier Wells remains a profound, unresolved tragedy. We know the verified facts. An 18-year-old athlete boarded a boat for a holiday celebration. He did not return. His body was found 2 days later. An independent autopsy could not determine how he died, and federal authorities believe there has been an orchestrated attempt to silence witnesses. Everything else remains trapped in the gap between what is known, what is alleged, and what is hidden. Local authorities have not charged anyone with his death. The family continues to demand transparency, pushing through their grief to find the truth for a young man who had his entire life ahead of him. This case has captured national attention because it taps into a universal fear: the idea that a loved one can vanish in plain sight, surrounded by people, and the truth can simply be swallowed by the water. Someone who was there may know when Nolan Wells entered the water. Someone knows why the boat returned to the mainland without him. The physical evidence may have been compromised by the elements, but the truth of what happened on Horn Island that day still exists in the memories of those who returned to the dock. The question is no longer just how he died. The question is, who will finally break the silence?